Harare's heartbeat.
Hello and good evening. It is a Monday, the 13th of October 2025. Here's to hoping you had a restful weekend. My name is Faith Nyaude. A quick look at stories that are making the headlines this evening. President Mnangagwa has called for the harmonization of road traffic regulations enforcement within SADC region and collaborations to curb the recurrence of fatal road accidents involving public transport. He said this in the wake of a bus accident which claimed 42 people, among them Zimbabweans and Malawians who were traveling from Port Elizabeth, South Africa to Harare. Details on the accident coming up here on Newsplus. The 22nd ZANU-PF National People's Conference to be held in Mutare marks another milestone in Zimbabwe's ruling party's calendar. It is a critical convergence of policy review, reflection, and the robust reaffirmation of national priorities under the Second Republic. Stay tuned as we continue with our countdown to the indaba that's slated for Mutare this week. Authorities have ordered the exhumation of the body of a 4-year-old girl from Bikita who died in a suspected case of murder. And in sport, we give you what went down between the Warriors and Lesotho in the World Cup qualifiers. Our first report this evening, President Mnangagwa has said families of Zimbabwean nationals who died in the tragic road accident in South Africa on Sunday will get state assistance to repatriate and bury their loved ones. President Mnangagwa said those injured will also have their hospital bills covered by the government. The accident involving a DNC bus claimed 42 lives along the N1 road near Makado town in Limpopo province. In a statement this afternoon, President Mnangagwa said he received the news of the accident with shock and grief and extended his condolences to the families who lost their relatives. The president also urged stakeholders in the transport sector within the region to ensure maximum diligence, calling for traffic enforcement agencies across jurisdictions to collaborate more closely. He also implored governments in the region to harmonize legislations in respect of vehicular traffic. We are now joined live on the lines by our Bay Bridge correspondent, Tubeyo Mulea, to give us the latest on this accident. Tubeyo, good evening.
President Mnangagwa has called for the harmonization of road traffic regulations enforcement within SADC region and collaborations to curb the recurrence of fatal road accidents involving public transport. The head of state made the clarion call after receiving with shock and grief the death of 42 people, among them Zimbabweans and Malawians, who were traveling in the same bus from Port Elizabeth, South Africa to Harare when tragedy struck on Sunday afternoon. The President said he has since directed government departments and agencies to extend state assistance towards the repatriation of the remains of the accident victims and to extend similar assistance towards the burial. The accident occurred on Sunday afternoon along the N1 highway near Makado town, located some 100 kilometers away from the Bay Bridge border post, where the driver of the suspected overloaded bus lost control and it plunged into an embankment.
Meanwhile, the Zimbabwe Republic Police say they are waiting for all the due processes to be conducted through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Trade and the Zimbabwean Embassy in South Africa before the names of the victims can be officially released. In a statement via social media platform X, police said they have taken note of media inquiries and follow-ups on identification of Zimbabweans who died in the fatal accident, and they are ready to offer the necessary assistance in notifying relatives of the victims once all formalities are finalized. Now, earlier today, President Mnangagwa urged members of the security and defense forces to draw inspiration from the work of yesteryear cadres, commanders, and officers as Zimbabwe continues to protect its independence and sovereignty. President Mnangagwa was presiding over the burial of retired Brigadier General Victor Mpandasekwa, who died on the 6th of October in Harare after a long illness at the age of 75. More details in the following report.
Addressing mourners, President Mnangagwa described the late national hero is a man of discipline and hard work, urging Zimbabweans to emulate such virtues. He called on the security and defense forces to take a leaf from the work of yesteryear military men as Zimbabwe works towards protecting the gains of independence.
In honor of our national heroes and heroines, the security sector and defense forces in particular are called upon to draw inspiration from yesteryear cadres, commanders, and our officers as we advance our national interest and protect our independence and our sovereignty.
The late military man retired from the army in 1999 and went on to undertake other professional roles, including heading the Financial Intelligence Unit at the Reserve Bank of Zimbabwe. President Mnangagwa praised his professional conduct, describing it as rooted in integrity, humility, and honesty.
My dear brother, Comrade Ketani Kanye, your professional conduct, whose qualities were based on honesty, based on integrity, and based on humility, loyalty and enthusiasm and leadership, must inspire many to carry our beloved motherland, Zimbabwe, forward.
His family says his legacy has taught them that true courage lies in love and service to others. His cousin Bakari Jo, who spoke on behalf of the family, recalled his humility and the wisdom he freely shared with others whenever he visited home. They said he remained grounded and never lost touch with his roots.
He never lost touch with who he was. Whenever he came home, he would sit and like a baby tree with others, sharing stories with laughter. But that's why we are characters who I share my show, I
Retired Brigadier General Mopanda Sekwa is survived by his 4 children, Anesu, Ropafadzai, Tinashe, and Kanye.
From the battlefields of the liberation struggle to the negotiating tables at Lancaster House, the late Brigadier General devoted his life to Zimbabwe's freedom. Today, the man who worked so hard to liberate the nation takes his final rest, liberated into eternity. For ZTM Prime, I'm Cheryl Mjejema at the National Heroes Acre.
Let us take a look at the late Brigadier General Mjeri's life in detail.
Known by his Chimurenga name Ketani Kanye, the late national hero retired Brigadier General Mpanda Sekwa Mjeri was born on March 7, 1950 in Mberengwa district. In 1959, he enrolled for primary education at Rengwe Lower Primary School in Mberengwa, where he did Sub-A to Standard 3. As the War of Liberation gathered momentum, the late national hero joined the Zimbabwe African People's Union ZAPU as a member of the Zimbabwe People's Revolutionary Army ZIPRA. He skipped the border into Zambia and received his military training in late 1974. Early in 1975, Mjeri stayed at Mboroma Transit Camp and later went to Mkakao, Tanzania for 6 months intensive training. Later that same year, he went for further military training at Morogoro Training Camp. He trained together with the likes of Ambassador Major General retired Tando Majwamose. Some of his trainers were Commander Zimbabwe Defense Forces General Philip Valerio Sibanda and Brigadier General retired Abel Mazinyane. His determination and leadership skills saw him being selected to undergo further training in the then Soviet Union in 1976. Upon completion of his training in 1977, he returned to Zambia and was assigned Deputy Commander of Freedom Camp. In 1978, he was promoted to the post of Administrator in the then office of ZAPU President Joshua Nkomo. In 1979, he participated in the Lancaster House peace talks as a military advisor. He persisted in his involvement with the liberation struggle until the country attained independence in 1980. On April 16, 1981, he was one of the first 18 ex-combatants to be attested into the integrated Zimbabwe National Army as a colonel. He became the first commandant at Nkomo Garrison in Nyabira. During his illustrious career in the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, he attended various military courses. Junior Staff Course at the Zimbabwe Military Academy in 1981. Intermediate Staff Course at the Zimbabwe Staff College 1983. Command and Staff Course at the Zimbabwe Staff College 1988. Defense Management Course in the Republic of South Africa 1977. He had an illustrious career in the Zimbabwe Defense Forces, which saw him holding key appointments including Commandant Nkomo Garrison 1981 to 1982, Commander Harare District 1983 to 1984, Deputy Commander 3 Infantry Brigade 1984 to 1986, Commander 3 Infantry Brigade 1987, Commander Special Task Force Mozambique 1987 to 1989, Brigadier General career 1991 to 1996, Director General Defense Policy and Public Relations and Protocol 1997 to 1999, among several medals for his dedication to service. He leaves behind 4 children.
Now a look at some politics. The 22nd ZANU-PF National Annual People's Conference kicked off today in Mutare, focusing on the ruling party's enduring dominance. The conference is running under the theme Attainment of Vision 2030 through Economic Empowerment and Value Addition. More in this report.
In the eastern border city of Mutare, expectation builds. The ZANU-PF National Annual People's Conference, one of the country's most anticipated political gatherings, kicked off today with non-Politburo and Central Committee members arriving. It's an event that has, for over 3 decades, shaped not only the direction of the ruling party but the tone of Zimbabwe's national discourse. Back in Harare, on Tuesday there will be a Politburo meeting, while the Central Committee follows on Wednesday. Politburo and Central Committee members will travel to the eastern border town on Thursday ahead of the official opening by Party First Secretary President Emmerson Mnangagwa on Friday. He will pull down the curtain on the conference on Saturday. From the early 1990s unity-driven conventions to the transformative resolutions of the 2000s and the pragmatic Vision 2030 era, each conference has told a story of evolution, endurance, and adaptation.
During the early days of the holding of the National People's Conference, the focus was mainly on decolonization, consolidation of power, and ensuring that there is unity within the nation state. And then there was the second phase, which was characterized by righting the colonial wrongs through land reform.
Through the decades, these gatherings have reflected the nation's shifting priorities. The 1990s focused on consolidating unity after the 1987 Accord. At the turn of the millennium, it was about land reform under the code name Third Chimurenga. Under President Emmerson Mnangagwa's administration, the agenda has shifted firmly toward industrialization, economic modernization, and the realization of Vision 2030.
The country recently held or hosted the Africa-Nordic Summit in Victoria Falls, and the country recently assumed the chairmanship of COMESA, and the country is also campaigning for a permanent seat at the United Nations. All these, endeavors puts a positive spin on the country. Perception is everything. The positive perception also creates a perception that this is a good investment environment.
This year's Lean Conference will focus on industrial revival, infrastructure development, and deepening economic empowerment in line with the government's ongoing reform agenda. Over the years, 7,000 people attended the annual jamboree, but this year, only 4,000 are attending. Officials say This will ensure robust engagements. To the attendees, this is not just another political gathering, but a platform for re-strategizing.
Our conference will be focused on economy, as is the usual, and it will be focused on ensuring that we take a check on how far we've come in ensuring that we are fulfilling the mandate. Because remember, the election of 2023 was based on economic sectors and so on. And this is exactly what we'll be focusing on. And one of the hallmarks of His Excellency has been to ensure that he is connecting the youth, is connecting the women, is connecting all sectors of society to the economy.
As senior officials insist, focus will be on the state of the economy. Grassroots will follow with a keen eye on the resolutions. Ibn Mabunda, ZTN Prime.
Now, when Newsplus comes back, we give you a look into the O and A level examinations that officially kicked off today. Stay with us.
Good evening and welcome to the greatest show on earth. This is a people's game. They will be bubbling about this one for weeks and months to come. Let's go!
Wherever you are, whatever your reason, it's on SuperSport all season long. Reconnect and stay connected to DSTV Compact and get the best football on us.
Didn't graduate? I guess I blew it.
You couldn't advise him anything. He would just look at you and say, so who do you think you are?
We were just like really spoiled.
And then they just give me the receipt and I'd pay.
That guy walks in one day and then he says that he wants to make a movie.
He was blowing the money.
There was just like this habit that he had where as soon as he got money, it was gone.
I just didn't have the skills or the experience.
This money, I could see it disappear so fast.
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. Now, the long-awaited 2025 O-level and A-level examinations officially kicked off today across the country. With over 5,000 centers registered for this year's sitting, the National Examinations Body has confirmed that Day 1 progressed smoothly with no major incidents reported. Tafara Subochiwe has more.
The pencils are sharpened, the exam halls are quiet, and the air is thick with focus. Across Zimbabwe, the long wait is over. The 2025 ZIMSEC Ordinary and Advanced Level examinations have begun. From the bustling streets of Harare to the distant corners of Binga and Chipinge, more than 400,000 O-level and 40,000 A-level candidates are putting pen to paper, stepping into one of the most defining moments of their academic journeys. According to ZIMSEC, the start of the examination period went on smoothly, with no major disruptions reported on Day 1.
All examination centers, there we have over 5,000 centers registered to have candidates sit for examinations this year, and all centers have received their question papers. Candidates have reported for the examinations. We do not have any notable mishaps in terms of what has been written so far.
At schools nationwide, teachers reported a calm start, saying learners showed confidence, discipline, and readiness for the long stretch ahead.
Indeed, I can confirm that we have witnessed the beginning of the O-level and the A-level examinations. And so far, by end of day, we had not received any adverse reports of what could have happened in terms of...
But amid the optimism, ZIMSEC has raised a red flag, warning of fake exam papers circulating on WhatsApp and other online platforms. The examination body has dismissed the so-called leaks as fake, reminding the public that those who buy into these scams risk not only losing money, but their integrity too. ZIMSEC says investigations are already underway, with authorities tracking down the culprits behind the fraudulent activities and a clear message: they will face the full weight of the law.
The group of people who were arrested last year also purporting to be selling ZIMSE question papers on WhatsApp and other groups. And yes, so we do track them down. We do track them down. They are brought before the courts of law and they are charged for it.
As the examinations continue over the coming weeks, officials and educators alike are urging students to focus on their studies, avoid shortcuts, and trust in the integrity of the official process. For thousands of learners across Zimbabwe, this is more than just an exam season. It's a moment of courage, a test of perseverance, and a getaway to endless possibilities. Tafaras Buchiwe for ZTN Prime in Harare.
Now, our correspondent Eben Mabunda analyzes the ordinary and advanced level examination pass rates for us.
I will dive straight into the statistics, the historical stats, to give us an indication or a prediction of what to expect in the 2025 results. Now, you'll find that in 2021, the O-level results came in at 27.35%, up from 24% in COVID-19, of course, that being 2020, owing to the disruptions in the normalcy of education. Now, you'll note that when you look at the A-level, that's where you've got an 84% figure in 2021. Fast forward to 2024, there hasn't been much shift where the O-level results are concerned. Of course, an improvement from 27% to 33.19%. But you then realize that where the A-level results are concerned, you've got a significant movement to 94.58%. And of course, it's quite striking, the disparity between the O-level results and the A-level. And of course, we're speaking of 40,000 A-level students that are taking to of course, the exam centers across the country, vis-a-vis 400,000 scholars that are taking to the exam centers across the country, and that would bring up certain issues of interest, among them the student to teacher ratio. You'd find that the O-level students have to make do with lesser teachers in as far as the ratio is concerned. We're looking at 1:40, 1:50 students, whereas when you look at the student teacher ratio at A-level, maybe you're looking at lesser numbers at maybe 15 to 20 across the board. Hence, the trend that we've also been noticing. Also of interest here, Faith, is also the fact that you've got a huge disparity between the urban as well as the rural schools spread across the length and breadth of this teapot-shaped country called Zimbabwe. You're looking at the resources at their disposal. You're looking at availability of internet as well as the mobile devices necessary for the research of those students. So hence the huge disparities that we're noticing here. And of course, you will notice that 2024, 2023, 94% where the A-levels are concerned. So you can pretty much expect pretty much a similar figure or perhaps a slight improvement. And where the O-levels are concerned, it remains to be seen whether we'll see an improvement from the 33% aggregate. The Minister of Education is quite optimistic that we might see a movement where that particular aggregate is concerned. But of course, there's been a switch in terms of the curriculum, and all of these factors will come in to determine what will be the outcome of the 2025 O-level and A-level results.
Eben Mabunda, the ZTN correspondent, breaking down for us those pass rates of A and O-level exams as they kick off today. Now let's talk tourism. Zimbabwe, the land of the majestic Victoria Falls, the ancient Great Zimbabwe ruins, and the serene Eastern Highlands, has captured the world's imagination. Forbes magazine has ranked Zimbabwe the world's best country to visit in 2025, a feat that has set the global travel community abuzz. Hannah Mapisire has the story of a nation that's stepping back into the spotlight.
From the roar of the Zambezi to the whisper of the mountain winds, Zimbabwe's beauty has always spoken for itself, and now the world is listening. Forbes magazine has named the country the go-to tourist destination of 2025, celebrating its wild terrain, rich heritage, and unrivaled hospitality. Global travel site Kayak reports that interest in the country has surged, with Bulawayo recording an 80% increase in flight searches, in Harare up by 56%.
We need to capitalize on it at the moment because it is a very prestigious list to be on, and we can, through the retention of this honor, reach out to the whole market abroad and remind them that a prestigious publication like this has put us as a desired destination. What are the things that have brought us to this point at the moment?
In 2024, the tourism sector stood tall amid global uncertainty, welcoming over 1.6 million visitors, generating 1.2 United States dollars in receipts, and attracting 190 million United States dollars in investments. From the thundering Victoria Falls to the ancient stone walls of Great Zimbabwe, the country's 5 UNESCO World Heritage Sites continue to draw travelers seeking authentic African experiences.
We are strategically positioned when it comes to tourism sector in a global stage because we have one of the 7 wonders in the world. And if you check correctly, last month we hosted Sanganani, Kumbayami World Tourism Expo in Manicaland.
Forbes describes Zimbabwe as a mosaic of rigid wilderness and deep ancestral heritage, where jagged granite outcrops rise above sun-scorched golden plains and skies stretch wide over rustling acacia groves. The magazine praises the Victoria Falls for its rainbow mist and thundering gorges, the Eastern Highlands for its cloud-laced calm, and Great Zimbabwe for the stone silence that speaks of a glorious past.
In other words, we need to probably retain a level of humility and constantly examine and evaluate what it is that makes us popular and continue to work hard to make sure that those factors are permanently retained. I would imagine Victoria Falls is what has brought us to that destination.
Tourism now contributes 12% to Zimbabwe's GDP, and the country is aiming for 5 billion United States dollars in earnings by 2030. Under the Second Republic, new reforms are cutting red tape and making Zimbabwe more competitive on the global tourism stage.
We had a target of reaching 5 billion tourism economy in 2025, but we've already surpassed that in 2024, and today we are challenging, as the policy is from 2025 to 2030, we are challenging ourselves today to reach 10 billion tourism economy by 2030.
From the golden sunsets of Manipus to the misty peaks of Nyanga, Zimbabwe is not just a place on the map, it's a feeling, a story, and a world-class experience. The world has spoken, and Zimbabwe stands proud, the best of the best. For ZTN Prime, I'm Hannah Mapisire.
Now, the body of a 4-year-old Bikita girl, Sabina Maziva, who died in a suspected case of poisoning, is set to be exhumed for post-mortem. The minor died on the 5th of October, days after allegedly eating rice laced with poison. She was buried 3 days later, but suspicions from villagers led for calls to an investigation. Police have since arrested suspects Violet Gamera, Chamuno Rwakwanga, and Regina Tavengirui in connection with the murder. Investigations suggest that Gamera allegedly poisoned the child as revenge after goats of the victim's family destroyed her crops. Masvingo Provincial Deputy Police Spokesperson, Assistant Inspector Masao Patinu, says samples from the exhumed body will be sent for toxicology tests while the suspects remain in custody assisting with investigations.
We strongly condemn criminal acts and cruelty in society, especially those that endanger the lives of innocent people and also children. We urge members of the public to try and resolve disputes through lawful and peaceful means.
You are watching Newsplus. We'll be back shortly. Stay with us.
welcome wherever you are. And Mamouche, room to shoot. He well and truly did. It's an opportunity. What a shot to Suno! Scott's got to be careful. Bukayo Saka! But it's Salah, and that one delivers!
Never miss a play, home or away. Stream all Premier League games live on Showmax.
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. Thank you so much for staying with us. Now, the Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development, Felix Mona, says the Road Accident Fund to be set up by government to assist victims of road accidents will draw its funding from 35% of the 69.3% that insurance companies retain after paying other players from third-party vehicle license fees. He said this in a speech read on his behalf by the Traffic Safety Council of Zimbabwe Board Chairperson, Kura Sibanda, during the first public hearing on the Road Accident Fund bill that was held in Blair today.
We are extremely delighted that we've convened this historic forum. Occasions of this nature provide us with a wonderful opportunity to share experiences and hear directly from our constituents which matters more, the real stakeholders of road safety, members of the public. We have also committed ourselves to fully engaging all those who are in the ecosystem of road safety management and regulation in general, and post-crash management in particular.
Communities in Bulilima are eagerly anticipating the completion of the Maitengwe Road Rehabilitation Project, which is expected to improve connectivity and boost the local economy. Now, these sentiments emerged and were shared during a project tour that was held earlier today along the Plumtree Maitengwe route.
The road, which stretches through a generally quiet and sparsely trafficked area, has long been in disrepair, posing significant challenges to transportation, security, and economic activity. Residents expressed a hope that the ongoing rehabilitation will bring the much-needed relief, highlighting that the poor road infrastructure has made the road vulnerable to crime.
Transport iyabaningi abantu ngapha futhi kusegangeni ngapha so nxa transporting yekho imoto zabe sesabuhamba zibuya ngapha.
Successor Velempini, who frequently uses the route, expressed concerns of a recurring car breakdown due to poor terrain.
So motor zofa to service time and again. So about chilungisiwa maybe no service once in a Mugoli.
The government has commenced rehabilitation of a 10-kilometer stretch along the Plumtree Maitengwe Road, a key route leading to the Maitengwe border post, which links Zimbabwe and Botswana. The road upgrade is expected to significantly improve connectivity for communities in Bulilima districts, including areas such as Bambazi and Machinge, which have long struggled with poor infrastructure.
Wakafanele connected to services. Apa vanhu vebva kubhambadzi vebva kumachinge kene vebva poni haveti maservices vanoveveya mutichi so ndio mugwako woga watavona mubulilima unokonekta vanhu to services tovoka kwazvo kwazvo chino chatatigwa checho.
The designated construction company Anno Construction has invested in an asphalt plant which produces the technology that the country has since adopted in roadworks. Authorities say this latest technology will ensure that the work is fast-paced. Construction of the route commenced this August, with the first 6 kilometers expected to be completed before the rains hit.
Instead of, let's say you're doing cement stabilization, instead of running a grade up and down, the reclaim will just mix it there. So it means construction time will be faster, number one. Number two, even the mixing will be better than mixing using a grader. So they own that machine.
Minister of Transport and Infrastructure Development Felix Mona hailed the investments being done by Zimbabweans from the diaspora, encouraging many to take up the initiative.
If you look at this particular contractor, is from within this province, and having migrated from the diaspora, which is also a wake-up call to the people of Zimbabwe, who are those who are in the diaspora, to say, yes, you can come back home and rebuild our nation.
Authorities say plans are already in place to procure asphalt plants, which will play a huge role in road maintenance. They will prioritize maintenance for the newly constructed roads to ensure their durability.
As a ministry, we've also procured asphalt plants. One has already landed in Harare, and we are going to be putting it up in Harare so that we also increase the efficiency. Instead of us doing a tender to buy asphalt, we're going to be doing our own asphalt, and then we have our maintenance units using that asphalt.
As the government continues its efforts to construct and rehabilitate roads, it is clear that their focus extends beyond major highways. This is evident in the ongoing Maitengo road works that also aims to improve connectivity for local communities. For ATM Prime, I am Sitachi Siwagwaza.
The Minister of State for Mashonaland East, Itainduzo, today handed over agricultural equipment comprising of tractors, a water rig and several farming appliances to youths across all 9 districts of the province under the Presidential Youth Scheme. Speaking at the handover ceremony, the Minister of State highlighted that being an agro-based economy, it is high time to venture into modern ways to boost farming production.
Being an agro-based economy, we are now moving away from the old systems to the new systems of producing, optimizing our production. So today, all the 9 districts of Mashonaland East Province are going to benefit from this wholesome distribution of agricultural equipment. Now, the beauty of it, Honorable Chairman, in the past, we used to give people some implements and they'll be lacking in other implements. Today we are not here to distribute tractors, but we are here to distribute the full set. It's going to be tractors, it's going to be plows, it's going to be disc harrows, it's going to be trailers, it's going to be nuts, bolts, everything you need to go there and fully produce is going to be given.
Mashonaland East Provincial Youth Chairperson for ZANU-PF, Isaac Tasikani, challenged the beneficiaries to fully utilize the equipment in order to repay loans, as this is a revolving fund that's set to benefit other youths.
Chirongwa chiri pano ichi ndechekusimudzira vechidiki kuti pavakuzoenda kumaadmin district kwavo vanorima vachitutsira pane zvimwe zvatakapiwa napresident wedu anova marigi manguva yapera iyo neminda yatakapiwa manguva yapera zvakare. So matractors akunobatsira kunosimudzira ugaro hwavo, kunosimudzira mashandiro avo, kunosimudzira upenyu hwechidiki. So tiri kutenda president kuti vatitira zvakanaka zvikuru. Tinotarisira kuti panopera gore rino, panozoperawo futi gore rinotevera, vana vanenge vakwanisa kubhadhara matractors iwawa kuti vamwe vari kumashure vazokwanisa kuwanawo.
Now look at news from beyond our borders. We start off with an announcement from Mali that has announced that U.S. nationals visiting the West African country will be required to post a bond of up to $10,000 for business and tourist visas in response to a similar requirement that the Trump administration imposed on its citizens. The U.S. Embassy in Mali said on Friday that the fee had been introduced to reinforce Washington's commitment to protecting America's borders and safeguarding U.S. national security. Now, Mali's foreign ministry said on Sunday the bond had been imposed unilaterally and it had decided to establish an identical visa program for U.S. citizens. Now, the visa policy shift comes despite moves to improve diplomatic relations between these two countries. In South Sudan, about 300,000 people have fled so far in 2025 as armed conflict between rival leaders threatens civil war. This as what's said by the UN. Now, the mass displacement was reported on Monday by the UN Commission on Human Rights in South Sudan. The report cautioned that the conflict between President Salva Kiir and suspended First Vice President Riek Machar risks a return to full-scale war. Now, the Commission's report called for an urgent regional intervention to prevent the country from sliding towards such a tragic event. South Sudan has been beset by political instability and ethnic violence since it gained independence from Sudan in the year 2011. Taliban spokesperson Zabihullah Mujahid did claim on Sunday that recent border clashes with Pakistan have killed more than 58 Pakistani soldiers, accusing Islamabad of launching what he called a plan of rumors against Afghanistan. Speaking at a press conference in Kabul, he acknowledged that 9 Taliban fighters were killed and 18 others wounded in the fighting. Mujahid accused Pakistan of initiating propaganda at high levels against Afghanistan. Now, the Taliban had halted hostilities in response to mediation efforts by Saudi Arabia and Qatar, but resumed fighting after what he described as renewed Pakistani attacks on Taliban security posts earlier on in the day. And in response, the Pakistan army said more than 200 Taliban fighters had been neutralized and 21 enemy positions captured, adding that 23 brave sons of Pakistan had been killed.
بریدونه په ټول امتداد د کرښې کې اجرا شول او د موږ د معلوماتو له مخې شلو نه زیاتې پوستې تصرف شوي دي د مجاهدینو له خوا او 58 د دوی نظامیان له منځه تللي دي د 150 په شاوخوا کې ټپیان لري او تر 9 پورې زموږ مجاهدین هم شهیدان شوي دي او 14 نه تر 13 پورې زخمیان لرو او د دوی وسلې او مهمات هم نیول شوي دي په امتداد د کرښې. وروسته په نیمه شپو کې بیا د قطر هیواد او د سعودي عربستان د هیواد د غوښتنو په اساس باندې اسلامي امارت جګړه ودروله، خو زموږ معلومات دا دي چې نن سهار هم د پاکستاني اړخ نه بیا د فایرونه سوي دي په پوستو باندې او د جګړې د ځینو ځایو کې لمن وهل سوی دی.
Now, earlier on today, President Trump addressed the Knesset, Israel's parliament, where he urged Israeli leaders to turn the page from warfare to peace. He told Israeli lawmakers that Israel had won all that they can by force of arms and expressed optimism about the region's future. Now, Donald Trump, who was greeted with a standing ovation, touted what he called the historic dawn of a new Middle East, and he urged leaders in Israel and elsewhere in the region to embrace peace and cooperation. Hamas on Monday released all 20 living hostages that were still being held since October 2023, marking a major milestone in the first phase of a Middle East peace deal to end the fighting in Gaza. But the deal, however, leaves many unanswered questions about the future of Gaza.
If they want to make a deal, and we're going to see if we can do something, because this is crazy what's happening and we're not going to have this anymore. Neither the United States nor Israel bear the people of Iran any hostility. We merely want to live in peace. We don't want any looming threats over our heads, and we don't want to even think in terms of nuclear destruction. It's not going to happen, never will happen. There's nothing that would do more good for this part of the world than for Iran's leaders to renounce terror, stop threatening their neighbors, quit funding their militant proxies, and finally recognize Israel's right to existence. They have to do that. They have to do that.
And over in France, the French Prime Minister Sébastien Lecornu on Sunday evening unveiled the lineup of his new government, comprising a total of 34 ministers. Now, some key appointments include Laurent Nunez as Minister of the Interior, Jean-Pierre Fernandou as Minister of Labour, Monique Barbert as Minister of Ecological Transition, as well as Edouard Giffard as Minister of National Education. Lecornu had resigned on Monday, less than a month after his initial appointment and just one day after announcing part of his first cabinet. He was reappointed as Prime Minister on Friday amid ongoing political tensions. You are still watching Newsplus. We're back with business news. Stay with us.
Catch exclusive interviews every weekday for candid, exciting and thought-provoking conversations with your host, Erika Ndoro.
We talk about arts, we can talk about sports, we can even talk about politics, and sometimes we venture into a nice guitaristic play.
the one story where you can't get out of your head. Wakatarisa munhu so Erica like where you are sitting. Ndozongokona bata face so pasina munhu.
Wakasiya music yako iyo Afro chakuti ndo music manje yemuZimbabwe.
And I'm sure they're still saying the same thing now.
Yeah, so
Shona kana kuti Chindevere kana mumwe mutauri muno muZimbabwe ndiwe iwewe ndiwo rupawo rwako ndicho chidadiso chako.
Catch me, Erica Ndoro, right here on ZTN Prime every single Monday at 7 p.m. whilst we get exclusive.
Harare, tune into the beat.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, your source for news, business, sports, fashion, and more.
Experience the pulse of Harare's culture and lifestyle.
Capitalk 100.4 FM, Harare's top radio station.
Join the conversation with Zimbabwe's top personalities.
Subscribe now for fresh and infotainment content daily.
Capital 100.4 FM, Harare's heartbeat.
Welcome back. You are still watching Newsplus. Now, on a look at business, academics have been urged to collaborate with the Procurement Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe to improve the procurement systems in the Southern African region. In a colloquium hosted by the Procurement Regulatory Authority of Zimbabwe, in collaboration with the Southern Africa Public Procurement Training Academy, over 30 abstracts were presented by researchers from local universities. In an interview, African Public Procurement Network President Dr. Clever Ruswa hailed the initiative, indicating that it is essential for identifying market dynamics, improving efficiency, ensuring compliance, and enabling strategic value creation. Dr. Ruswa also highlighted that the initiative is aimed at bridging the gap between theory and practice.
As a regulator, we carried out what we called training needs analysis, trying to establish what the gap between our practitioners and what they would have learned from our tertiary institutions. So we realized that as we'll be moving forward, there's need for us for continuous professional development. But in order for us to do that, we felt that let's have this bridge between the theory and the practice, where we have got a combined effort from the practitioners themselves and also the training institutions. So you find this time around we called in for the abstracts in terms of the papers because we want to inform policy. But for us to inform policy, because as we are moving from NDS 1 to NDS 2, for our policymakers, we feed into the mainline policies. So we felt that let's have the academic rigor.
Now, a researcher, Professor David Damiano, said that the thrust of the colloquium is to advance procurement practices to international standards. Professor Damiano said that they are hopeful that the event will inform policies and the abstract submitted will be published and used for advancing the sector.
The agency of this colloquium is to advance procurement practices to international standards. And on this day, we are gathered with the academia, practitioners, students, so that we bridge the gaps that are coming from our stakeholders. And we want to give a feedback loop between practitioners and our stakeholders. This is inaugural in the sense that it has started a dialogue that we think it's a going concern so that we keep the mantra of value for money, which we are pleased to get us to our sustainable development goals and development as a country.
And with that, we call it an evening. You are watching Newsplus. Thank you so much for joining us. We leave you watching the weather forecast for tomorrow. My name is Faith Nyaude. Good evening and enjoy the rest of your viewing.